Hello, hello, hello. This is Talking Manchester United, a United Stand podcast with myself, Paul Gardner. And joining me, as always, is Ash Burns. Ash, how are you, my friend?
Yes, not too bad, mate. It was an interesting one last night, wasn't it? But yeah, I'm alive. That's all that counts, I think. What about you?
Good, good. Yeah, it certainly was an interesting one, and we'll get into that very shortly. But I'm not too bad. Just getting over a bit of the man flu, but let's not complain about that too much. Yeah, 2-0 to PSG. Give us your thoughts on the game, Ash.
Well, do you know that first half, it panned out pretty much exactly as I thought. I knew both teams would be quite nervous. And looking at both teams that went out, it was the team that we all expected, which was great to see.
Yeah.
And it was looking at the two teams, it looked almost as if we cancelled each other out that first half. You look at PSG's front line with Di Maria, Mbappe, Draxler, Alves sort of milling about there as well. And then you look at us with Martial, Rashford and Lingard. Both teams, a lot of pace, a lot of directness up front. And it was almost as if either team was a little bit too scared to commit forward. I think PSG only had the one chance. De Gea, I don't think, made a save in the first half, just that Mbappe chance and then that Di Maria one offside, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we had a few sort of forays forward, but nothing again come of it. And I thought it was really well poised for the second half until disaster struck. And I think that's where the game went for us, really. When Martial and Lingard went off, I think that completely ruined our entire game plan. But I think one thing has got to be said is fair play to Thomas Tuchel. His tactics after our double change were fantastic. Really, really aware. He knew that we didn't have the pace to counter-attack them. So they pressed a lot higher. They exposed their fullbacks a lot more because they knew we didn't have the pace and directness to get in behind them. Which was a fantastic game plan, and it worked a treat for them. Yes, you could say, of all the attacking flair and everything they got, that we conceded our first goal off a corner, which is just typical, really, isn't it? But Matic
It is, and we'll get into that one shortly as well.
Yeah, Matic losing his man for the goal, and then I think as soon as that first goal's in, and I put a message out saying that it really sort of it almost killed us off, that first goal, because as soon as they get that first goal, they can sit back. And there's not many counter-attacking sides that are quicker at transitioning through the midfield into attack than PSG, solely for the fact that Di Maria and Mbappe. As soon as we pushed forward, they just soaked up the pressure. As soon as we made a mistake, which we made absolutely, millions of, especially with the likes of Mata, Lukaku and Sanchez up front, as soon as we made a mistake, they pounced on it, got the ball forward quickly to Di Maria and Mbappe, and that was it. They were away. So in that respect, after that first goal, the second goal goes in. We were lucky not to concede one or two more after that. We grew into the game sort of very late on, but I think PSG were happy enough, and they weren't going to push it anymore. So frustrating overall. I think the tie really went when Martial and Lingard off. I think that threw us a lot, and it just exposed what this squad is, the quality we've got in depth, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think I would have been as disappointed had you not hyped me up.
It's my fault.
Last week. I mean, I didn't. As we know from last week, I didn't expect us to win the game. I thought we'd get beat 2-1.
Yeah.
That was my prediction, at least. Anyway.
It was. Yeah.
But I do agree with you. I thought in the first half, despite the lack of clear-cut chances that we created, I thought we were decent. I thought we pressed at the right times. It wasn't pressing all the time, but I guess we couldn't, knowing that. They've got the likes of Di Maria and Mbappe on and pressing against our backline. So we did press at the right times. We didn't just sit back the whole game, which we probably would have done in the previous regime. So I was happy with that. I thought that at times we did move the ball forward quickly as well, which is what we've become used to now since Ollie's been at the wheel. I just think that we were lacking. Martial and Pogba were largely isolated in that first half. We didn't really see them on the ball much. They're our two biggest threats at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think that PSG did a good job of isolating them. I think it was Marquinhos, who was pretty much man-marking Pogba throughout the whole of the game. And I thought we did a stellar job as well, because he kept Pogba quiet for large parts. And I think that's one of the downsides to our first half is that we couldn't get them on the ball as much as we would have liked. There were a couple of instances where we did have a couple of breaks with Lingard.
Yeah.
But he played 2 poor passes. I think one of them was to Martial.
That's it. He put it
played
behind him.
Just behind him. And Martial couldn't control it. Because that would have been a clean breakthrough. I reckon Martial would have scored that. So that was reminiscent of the game. Who did we play recently? I forget now. Who did we just play against?
Fulham.
That's it, yeah. Fulham. When he scored that goal against Fulham, it would have been reminiscent of that. And then the next chance, the next poor pass he played, I think, was to Rashford. And again, I think he just picked the wrong time to make the pass, and I think it was blocked by a defender. And I think it was just those 2 would have been good, clear-cut chances. And I just think if it had been somebody with a bit more ability, a bit more vision, I think it would have been a bit different.
Yeah.
The second half was, well, like you say, as soon as we got those injuries, I mean, it's been quite widely. It's obvious that once Martial and Lingard were off the pitch, that completely ruined our game because the threat was taken away, which allowed PSG to not worry so much about the defensive aspect of the game and allowed them to push forward a bit more and be a bit more risky with the ball. But I don't think that is what lost us the game. I think where we lost the game was the difference in quality.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking, because in that first half, if Lingard was just a little bit more, was a little bit better, if we had a better player playing on that right-hand side who could play a better pass, because it's not the first time Lingard's done that, and I'm not slating him. He's been absolutely brilliant for us over the last couple of years. Well, I wouldn't say absolutely brilliant, but he's been good. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not slating him in any reason, but there's been quite a lot of times where his final ball has been a bit, decisions he makes hasn't been very good. And I think those were 2 brilliant examples in that game against PSG, where if it had been someone else had a bit more quality than Lingard, it may have been different. And I just think that was the difference in the game. Because if we had got 1 or 2 in that first half, then it would have been a different game altogether, I reckon. But yeah, the first goal, when that went in, I was angry, not in the manner that we conceded the goal, but because of the person who scored it. Should not have been on the pitch.
No.
Should not have been on the pitch. Now, what annoyed me is the referee bottled it.
Yeah.
Because it's a clear foul. Rashford got in front of him, and whichever angle you look at, it's quite clearly a pullback on Rashford's shoulder. Pulls him back. Now, if the referee ignored it and said, no, Rashford's dived.
Got to book him.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that if you dive or attempt to deceive the referee in any way whatsoever, it's a booking.
Yep.
So why didn't you book him? You see it so often. They'd rather not give the red card.
He booked for everything else, though, wouldn't he?
I know. He was yellow card happy, that bloke, wasn't
he was. He got his yellow cards out far too early, and he dug himself a grave with that then, I think. He booked, for both sides, he booked a few PSG players, too early, in my opinion. You don't get your cards out in the first 10 minutes, unless it's something serious. But yeah, it was ridiculous. And as I said, he dug himself his own grave because he had to keep up then. He had to be consistent with what were ridiculous fouls. And God knows how many PSG players threw themselves to the floor and, were very theatrical, and they were very clever with the referee. But yeah, he was ridiculous on both sides as well. There were some dodgy decisions either way. But yeah, I think we were very unlucky with the Kimpembe one. A lot of people are making it of, Pogba and Young and whatnot, but I'm sure we'll come to that in a bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely, definitely. One thing I was happy with though is that we kept fighting. Like you say, towards the end of the game, we sort of grew back into it. We tried to create something. We kept going for it, which is always good to see. We didn't just, completely fall apart. But yeah, PSG, the quality of their players. I think it was, I can't remember who tweeted. Used to be on the United Stand. It might have been him, might have been someone else, but they tweeted a tweet that basically said Neymar out, Di Maria in, Cavani out, someone else in, someone else out. Yeah, Draxler in, Alves in, and then compared that to Man United.
Yeah, yeah.
He'd be bringing in Lukaku, Sanchez, and Mata, and
then
that's the difference.
They brought on, who was it? The Argentinian midfielder. a little bit later on in the game just to shore things up. They bought him in January for 47 million quid. Is it Paredes, I think?
That's that Paredes. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, it just goes to show, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think someone else also tweeted saying that these are the clubs that spend money on quality, and this is why, because they want to compete with the elite.
Yeah,
Europe's elite. You see what I mean?
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I wasn't obviously I was disappointed and gutted that we lost, but I was expecting it at the end of the day because they are a better team.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about you mentioned something about Young and Pogba.
Yeah.
Go on, take it away. What do you want to say?
Well, I mean,
okay. First of all, Pogba, red card, fair enough.
Yeah, 100%. There's no doubt in my mind that you could argue the first one might have been a little bit harsh, but in the flow of the game and the way the referee was dishing yellow cards out willy-nilly, it was going to be a yellow card. It was a stupid challenge. He was late, and it probably did warrant a yellow card. As for the second challenge, people who are saying he's trying to shield the ball, look at the picture I replied with to a few posts today actually, of the studs. Pogba's studs literally maybe an inch below Dani Alves's knee.
They were wrapped around his knee.
flush on his knee. And if that's, like I've said on multiple occasions today, if that's the other way around, if Alves is doing that on Pogba, we're calling for a straight red every day. So it's 100% a red card. There's no complaints about it. At the time, I was thinking, what was that? But I haven't seen it again now. The referee got that one for a change, spot on.
And Pogba was just doing something that he does all the time and tries to shield the ball. We've seen him do it in every single match he plays in.
Yeah,
99% of the time he's absolutely fine with it. But the way he does it, there's going to be times where he's going to mistime it, and we've seen that against PSG last night. But not to dwell on that too much. We are going to miss him in the second leg. Obviously, he's not going to play.
Fred's going to have a worldie, don't he?
Well, let's hope so. Did you have something to say about Young?
Yeah, for those. For me, it's a ridiculous argument. I think that he.
I thought you were on about the Di Maria incident.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying he should have been sent off. Get a grip of yourselves. If that challenge happens anywhere else on the pitch, we're going great strength, Youngie. He's run around him and he's put shoulder to shoulder into him. And granted, he has given him a bit of a yeet off the pitch, but it's the pitch's fault for being such so much of a slope on the runoff. Into the barrier. As I said, anywhere he's still on the pitch when he does that. He's not, gone over the line and then he's barged him. They're both still on the pitch. They're both still trying to fight and shield the ball. And Youngie's shoulder to shoulder him. As I said, anywhere else on the pitch, we're saying good strength. So never for me. It was lucky to get a foul, in my opinion. I mean, you only have to cast your mind back to Jamie Vardy on Raphael a couple of years back. Do you all remember that when Vardy
was that not Eric Bailly on Vardy?
No, I'm going back further than that. When Leicester come back, when Fergie was still in charge, and it always sticks in my mind. Jamie Vardy absolutely clattered Raphael in the box, shoulder to shoulder. But I mean, he was going full tilt, and Raphael was stationary. And Jamie Vardy runs into him, shoulder barges him. He goes flying. He gets the ball. Raphael gets back up, and shoulder to shoulders him.
Oh yeah,
do you remember that? And then the ref gives a penalty.
That's right. Yeah.
It was one of those, but it reminded me so much of that. I mean, if that's not a foul, then where's the consistency? So no, it's not a second yellow card for me. If anywhere else on the pitch is not a foul, so not for me.
Another thing that worried me in that game as well, at times, and I do see it quite a lot. I have seen it quite a lot under Ollie's tenure as well. And that's the way we defend. Yeah. Obviously the fullbacks they defend narrow. Shaw and Young, they're never past the edge of the 18-yard box most of the time. And I've seen that quite a lot last night. So you've got the likes of Alves and I can't remember who played on the left for them. But they were getting crosses in all the time and completely unchallenged. Now under Mourinho, we're defending with 6 at the back. We've got 4 defenders and the edge of the box. Then you've got your wing backs coming back and doing defensive duties to help out. Obviously, we're not seeing that at the moment, and we didn't see that at all, or very much last night, particularly in the second half. I guess you could put that down to the fact that Mata hasn't got the pace to support Young. Obviously, Sanchez never gets back to support Shaw. But you would think in that instance that you would have Shaw going out to his opposite number, Young going out to his opposite number, and then Matic and Herrera filling the positions in the back line. We didn't see any of that. They were just giving them far too much space to put crosses in. And I'm seeing that quite a lot recently. And that's something that concerns me, especially when we've got big games coming up. Like Chelsea, for example, you've got Azpilicueta and Willian on one side, who've been working well together. They can put in crosses. If you give them space to run at you, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that quite a lot. So that's worrying me a little bit as well. I don't know if you feel the same on that.
Well, funny enough, yeah, it was second half last night that it really sort of clicked with me in how standoffish our fullbacks were in terms of giving them space to cross. I don't know if it's a big part of trust with our centre backs and maybe our centre midfielders dropping in to get their heads on the ball for crosses, but it's it's massively risky, especially as you rightly said, going against some of the big teams. We go with Chelsea, we get Higuain in the box or Giroud in the box, whoever's going to be playing for Chelsea, who can head the ball. It's gonna cause us problems. And I'm glad you brought up fullbacks as well, because a lot of people, myself included, have showered Luke Shaw in praise this season. But he has concerned me under Ole a little bit. I think he's been quite poor in quite a few games now, and no more so than last night. I thought he was very standoffish, as I mentioned. He was very reluctant to get forward and overlap, and when he did, he was indecisive.
In the second half, late on in the second half, I thought he was very good at getting forward.
That would have been when we actually pushed on. But in the first half, I thought when he could have been a big factor for us in getting forward. We've seen the wide play and the exposing of fullbacks. We've used it a lot against Spurs and Arsenal in the big games. So I've been disappointed with him in a few occasions, as you said, late on in the second half. But I think that was the case of we just had to go for it. So he's a little bit of a concern for me, and it's even more concern in the left back spot that we really haven't got anyone to replace him with. Not saying that he should get replaced, but if he does continue or have a couple of poor games and sees a dip in form. It's concerning that he's got no one there to push him, to challenge him for a spot. That was another thing that I picked up on, that Luke Shaw hasn't been fantastic over the last couple of weeks.
To be fair, I think we've both said, I know I have in recent weeks, that one of the things that I want Luke Shaw to improve on is his forward runs.
Yeah,
overlapping, cutting in, just providing more options for Martial, creating more space for Martial. And he didn't do that at all very much in the first half. And in the second half, he was doing it pretty well. But it's just the defensive side that worries me. Now, obviously, the way the defense sets up, that's not down to Luke Shaw.
No.
That's down to Ole at the end of the day. And that's one of the main concerns I have at the moment. It's just the way we defend. Against lesser teams, it's not such a problem. But against teams like PSG and other top teams, if we keep defending like that, then we're going to get turned over.
Yeah.
One more thing, just before we move on to the Chelsea game.
Yeah.
That second goal from Mbappe, obviously he's got blistering pace, and it was a well-taken goal. Brilliant finish. Now, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I think Eric Bailly could have done a lot more.
Yeah.
When I seen the goal happen in real time, I didn't see it. But when you watch the replay, Bailly's matching him for pace.
Yeah.
And then I think it's just the last yard or two, you actually notice Bailly take his foot off.
He does.
Bit, and then he slides way too early. If he just keeps going and slides a bit later, he gets that ball. I just think he took his foot off a little bit too soon, which allowed Mbappe to get that yard ahead of him. Then he goes to ground and the ball's already past him. I think he just needs to stay on his feet just for that extra yard. Don't slow down, and he could have done. I think he could have done a lot more on that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I thought there were a few occasions last night where he didn't look fantastic, which is again a concern. And the second goal, you're spot on. And not only that, you look at that goal again, and Mbappe has come, between the sandwich between the two central defenders, Bailly and Lindelof either side of him. And once Di Maria gets down the byline and looks for that cutback, there's only one place Mbappe is going in that position. He's going to run, ahead between of the two fullbacks. So the two centre backs. So those two, Bailly and Lindelof, should be squeezing him out there. And as you rightly said, Bailly, as you said, he's matched him for pace. He's got him there. You know, go with him. You've got Lindelof as cover behind you if the ball gets cut back. You know, stick on him. You're in front of him. You're in front of your man, and that's the place you want to be. So yeah, that was frustrating. And I think but both of our centre backs could have done better. Well, the whole defence was poor. But yeah, certainly our centre backs. I expected a lot more of them last night.
Absolutely, but I think on a whole, though, you've got to give credit to the team. They went out. They started, it wasn't the case of us were scared. You know, they went for it. They had a go. But at the end of the day, for me at least, anyway, it was just the difference in quality.
Yeah.
At the speak at the end of the day, I think if we had a bit more quality going forward in that first half, I think we could have got a goal or two.
Yeah.
Change it in the second half. Then. Even if we did lose.
Your mic's gone a bit funny.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Is it okay now, or?
It's a bit feedbacky.
Oh, okay.
Don't know why.
How
now? Speak.
Hello.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
There we go. Right, hopefully that won't happen again. I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah. Just sounded like you'd put your microphone in your pocket and gone to get something out the fridge.
Well, before we go on to the Chelsea game, I did put a tweet out on the United Talking Man United Twitter account.
You put two out.
Yeah. This is just after the game.
Oh yes.
Yesterday, put a tweet out saying an unfortunate defeat, but it wasn't a poor showing by the boys by any means. Give us your thoughts on the game. Where do you think the game was lost? Individual error or difference in quality? I'll just read out a few of the replies just so we get a gist of what the fans were thinking. So Richard Duff at Richard Duff 1. Young Mata, Lukaku and Sanchez should never wear United shirts again. United _ Pogba. I think it was down to not attacking like we have shown the ability to do. Once we lost Tony and Lingard, we didn't adapt and were nullified. We were also wide open at times in the second half. It almost seemed that tactically we weren't set up right. That's a fair comment. Gregory at Manred80. Errors for the goal. Matic switched off. Young tucking in when there were two defenders on Mbappe. Young didn't defend the space. Di Maria exploited. Yep. Mata and Sanchez offering nothing in attack and could not press effectively. United lacked depth. Where the F is Fred? Yep, spot on there, Gregory, I think. Michael Stow, a regular listener. They nullified our left side. The first goal scorer should have already been sent off. The injuries killed us. That's at the essential. That's
funny again.
Have I gone funny again? Yeah. Right, hang on a moment. Right now.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, hello? Hello? We're just experiencing some difficulties.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, you sound good now, yeah.
Right, okay.
Lovely.
Right, yeah, just shout if it goes like it again.
Yeah,
I don't know why it's doing that. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, it's weird.
I thought for a minute I might be running over the cable with the chair, but it's not that. It's connected properly. Yeah, so Henrico, I'd rather lose like that than not play at all. I would have gone to bed after the first goal if it was the other guy coaching us. Yeah, pretty sure most people would have, to be fair. Ike Yaguala, another regular listener, technically and tactically outclassed. The better team won. That's about it. The more pertinent question to ask is, should Ollie go for it in the second leg or put out a second string side and concentrate on the league and FA Cup if we're still in it? We weren't going to in the Champions League anyways. Fair comment? And Rodney Cyrus, another regular listener, just a standard European display against a very good team. It wasn't great, but it's not the end of the world. Yeah, I would agree with that. Terry Tell Saunders used to do some writing for the United stand. The injuries to Martial and Lingard killed us. I go after that. Mata doesn't have the pace to play out wide, and the less said about Sanchez, the better. Yep. There we go. I think he shares everyone's views on Sanchez at the moment. So let's move forward for the Chelsea preview then, Ash. All yours.
Yeah. So, look into Monday evening. Chelsea, FA Cup. Another tough one. Back-to-back sort of difficult fixtures in the FA Cup. It's an interesting one with Chelsea because, after the draw, after that, the Arsenal fixture, we're thinking, great, let's get a team now who are maybe, not as prestigious, someone we can put the youth out again, and we get Chelsea. But, well, prior to last night, I think, given Chelsea's form of late, we'd have been a little bit more confident. After last night, I'm sure a lot of us are not so sure anymore. But looking back at their games, very recently, that 6-0 loss to City, massive loss for them. Then, on the flip side, a 5-0 win against Huddersfield. Then looking back at that, a 4-0 loss to Bournemouth. And then 2 victories then over Sheffield United, and Spurs.
Yep. And then before that Spurs game, they lost 2-0 to Chelsea. No, they lost 2-0 to Arsenal.
Yeah. So it's a real mixed bag at the moment for Chelsea, and I think they seem to be having a lot of difficulties, whether that be with the management or whether that be with the players yet again. We've seen that before with that current crop of players. So it's going to be an interesting game. I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know who we're going to field. I mean, a lot of questions are being asked of this United side now, especially after last night, and certainly given that 2 of our most effective players of late could be injured. We did look before the game, not heard anything confirming that they will be out, but at the moment I'm taking it as if they're going to be out for the game. I'm hoping they're not.
The way I look at it is that that was a Champions League game against PSG.
Yeah.
Neither of those players have played many high-profile Champions League games for Man United, so they would not have gone off if it wasn't serious.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, very good point. I'm hoping it was just precaution, but again, Lingard didn't look very good. I'm hoping Martial was more precautionary, but you never know. So again, Chelsea, a high-profile club. I'm sure most of you listening will know where the danger is going to come from Chelsea. 5 names. Who have you got down?
Well, before we go on to names, I think one thing we need to think about when it comes to Chelsea and most other top sides as well is let's not read too much into the 6-0 thrashing from City and the 4-0 thrashing from Bournemouth. Because like you say, in between that, they've won 5-0, they've won 3-0. Yeah, against lesser opposition, but they do possess the quality.
Yeah.
And form is temporary, as we know. So if we go into this game thinking, yeah, we should get a win here, it's very naive to think that.
You've got to look at our... Oh, sorry. I was going to say you've got to look at our form at Stamford Bridge as well, and how we've played. Is Ollie going to be the one to break the curse? Because it's not great reading when you look at our results down the years.
No, it certainly isn't. But when you look at the players they've got that can harm us, the obvious ones: Eden Hazard, Gonzalo Higuain, Willian, Pedro, Kante. Players like that are the players that are going to really hurt you. Gonzalo Higuain got off the mark with 2 goals against Huddersfield in that 5-0 win.
Yep.
Him and Hazard, they're linked. They linked up pretty well in that game. They're forming a relationship, the 2 of them. Higuain is a proper number 9, a proper in the box kind of striker. His movement is absolutely fantastic. Our defenders will need to have their wits about them when playing against Higuain, because if he gets the chance to score, he'll score. And he scores all sorts of goals as well. So he's definitely someone to watch out for. Now he's got those 2 goals. Now he's off the mark for Chelsea. I fully expect him to continue along that vein and score plenty more goals for them. We all know about Hazard. He is currently their top goal scorer with 12 goals. Again, good with his feet. We know the threat he can pose. He can take it past a few players. He draws a lot of fouls. And we know that we're not very good defending set pieces. So that's another threat. Pedro's been on a bit of form for them as well. He's scoring a few goals. We also know about him. A lot of their players come through the middle as well. They're very good at picking out passes through the middle with Kante. Even Barkley's got his name on the assist sheet quite on the odd occasion this season. So that's a couple of other players we need to look out for as well. I don't know if I mentioned Willian.
Yeah.
We know he's not the best attacker, but he has been picked regularly, and we all know what threat he can pose as well. If you give him a yard of space on his left foot, he's got a hell of a shot on him. I mean, he's only scored a few goals this season, but you just know that against Man United, give him half the chance, he'll bury one in the top corner.
Plus, got to think with Willian, his work rate and his press as well.
Exactly.
That,
Yeah.
of course, especially if he's coming off the left and we play Ashley Young on the right, it's that could cause us issues.
Yeah, and if we have these, Azpilicueta is another one as well. Granted, he's not the most creative, but he's good at getting forward.
Yeah,
and he allows players like Willian to dribble, by creating space for him to do so by overlapping. They've got that, Alonso and Azpilicueta at the two very good attacking fullbacks.
Yeah.
And the way we've been defending recently, giving our fullbacks giving their opposite number a lot of time and space, that could be our undoing against Chelsea.
Yeah, no doubt. I've got the same as you: Hazard, Higuain, Kante. I've also included Kovacic as well, just because I think when our midfield has been overloaded, sometimes we can struggle, especially with maybe the lack of pace from Herrera and from Matic. I'm not too worried about Jorginho or Jorginho, however you're going to say it. Jorginho. He's just a little zone brand under Herrera, so I'm not too watch when he bags a couple of assists against us now. But yeah, I'm more concerned about Kante and Kovacic because I think the two of them with their work rate, Kovacic's strength and ability to move himself and the ball around the midfield. A big fan of his. Yeah, I think he's a really effective player. Obviously, if the two of them working through the midfield, picking the wide men, your Hazards, again, depends on our fullback situation, who we're going to play, could cause us some big issues down the flanks. So, going to be an interesting one. I think the game is going to be won and lost in midfield. I really do. So, I think we're really going to have to turn it on. I thought, by the way, Matic, another big game for him, obviously going back to his former club, who I thought was, for most of the first half, magnificent against PSG. I really did. I've given some stick over some of the last couple of games, and people have said he's been great, and I thought he hasn't been too great. I thought he started the game yesterday really, really well. I thought he was everywhere, and I thought he was our best player in that first half, pretty much. Obviously, tailed off and made it more difficult second half because he had to run. But apart from that, I was impressed first half with him. So yeah, I think it's going to be up to him and Herrera if they play. Fred might get a game, who knows? So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Who have you got then, or anything else to add on Chelsea?
No, I think we've pretty much covered the threats they pose, and that's pretty much all we need to do, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So taking it to us then, who are you going to play? Obviously, taking into account. We've got 6 days rest, so I don't think fatigue is going to be too much of an issue. So who do you think is going to play? Who do you want to play? Take it away.
Well, that's one thing I was going to say. One thing we have to consider is the fact that we do have quite a long break.
Yeah.
Christ, imagine how Mourinho would have felt. One of the things you always complained about was how that we play a Champions League game on a Wednesday and then we'd have a Saturday midday kickoff.
Yeah.
So we got quite a big rest. So I think that, FA Cup, I know it should be all about the top four, but one of the things that Ollie said when he joined Man United was that, we should be challenging on all fronts.
Yeah.
He's right, we should be. We can't because we haven't got the squad. But I think the FA Cup is one of the ones we should have a go at least. And it's another big club as well, Chelsea.
Yeah.
And I think that to get a result against them would do the world of good, not just for us as a team, but for Ollie as a potential full-time United manager as well. If he can get over that hurdle, that's another tick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think we should approach this game, and I think Ollie will approach this game with strength, with our best team, and I think we should as well. Now, obviously, I'm going to assume that Lingard and Martial aren't going to be playing.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, all we know at the moment is that they are doubts, is what's in the media. Again, easy writing for the media. It's obvious they're doubts. They've gone out half time against PSG. So I think the back line should remain unchanged. Now, I know I said I was a bit disappointed with Bailly, just slowing down that last yard, allowing ahead of him. But I think if Ollie's picked Bailly and Lindelof against PSG, he obviously thinks that is our strongest centre-back pairing.
Yeah.
Smalling and Jones are fit. And Jones is injured now again, isn't he? Or was he?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. I
don't think he is. I don't think he is. He didn't. No, I think he's fit. So him and Smalling are both fit. Yeah, he went with Bailly and Lindelof. Bailly probably because of his pace against Mbappe. I would imagine. But if he does think that that's the strongest centre back pairing, I think he has to stick with it. If he thinks Bailly's got something about him, we know he has. We've seen him play brilliant several times, and I think if we just give him a run of games and see how he gets on, I think we should keep that centre back pairing. I think we should go with Luke Shaw and Ashley Young again on the left and right as well. Midfield unchanged. Obviously, Pogba will play because I think he only misses the red card doesn't affect him in the FA Cup or Premier League, as far as I'm aware. So the midfield three should remain unchanged: Matic, Herrera, and Pogba. And then the front three is difficult, but I don't think we should be playing Mata. I don't think we should be starting Sanchez. No, I do. Sorry. I think we should go Sanchez on the left in Martial's place. I'd rather not, but you know,
who else have we got?
Yeah, exactly. So I think we should put Sanchez on the left, and then Lukaku and Rashford the other two. Maybe Lukaku and Rashford just rotating between them, because we've seen Lukaku play out on the right for a short period. I think it might have been against Arsenal. We actually put in a couple of good crosses.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
Yeah, so I think
he set up both of the goals for Arsenal from the right. Yeah.
So he did. Yeah. So I think that if him and Rashford and Sanchez can play as our front three, you know, it's not what we want, but I think it gives us our best chance.
Yeah,
that's the team I would go with, and I think we should still approach this game the same way that we approached the PSG game, the same way we approached the Arsenal and Spurs game a couple of weeks ago, by playing our way, playing our game of football.
Yeah,
go at them, attack. As long as we improve the way we defend, then I think we should be all right.
Yeah, and I think after last night's result as well, I think there's even more onus on us to go out and to do well. To get the fans' frame of mind back. I'm sure, obviously a lot have had a bit of a knee-jerk reaction after last night and whatnot, which is a little bit ridiculous. But I think Ollie's going to want to put, some of the, maybe not doubters to rest, but he's going to want to put, he's going to want to relax the minds of the fans, I think. So I think he'll go pretty much full strength. For me, what I'd like to see, I've gone near enough the same as you, but just a few changes. De Gea in goal. Don't know about Romero. I'm assuming he's going to start De Gea. Luke Shaw. So, yeah. Luke Shaw, Lindelof, Bailly, and then I've gone with Diogo Dalot at right back, just because I never want to see Ashley Young play for Manchester United again. I know it seems harsh, but every single game he gets caught out positionally wise, and it's, yes, he can get forward, and yes, he plays for the badge, and yes, he does this, and yes, he does that. But we said that with Fellaini and whatnot, and Ashley Young is no better in my opinion. The best thing he did last night.
You say that, but we have seen Diogo Dalot get caught out a few times as well.
We have, and I completely agree. Against Fulham, I thought Dalot wasn't great. I thought he did get caught out as well. But the thing with Dalot, I think he's a defender at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? And if we put someone in that defence, it should be their first thought should be to defend. And Ashley Young is not a defender. No matter how many times you want to dress him up and whatnot, he's not a defender. He's a 33-year-old winger, and I don't want to see him play there, to be honest. Yeah, and the thing is, we know Ashley Young is capable of whipping in a decent ball. I think I only counted one, was it maybe two last night that he put in, which is madness. He should be in his target more than that. So I'd like to see Dalot in there. Just, a big game. If it does backfire, well, it backfires. But I want to see him given a little bit of responsibility and a little bit of. It'll give us a little bit more pace down the right hand side, and obviously someone who maybe can use their left foot as well. We keep Young and bloody Valencia; they haven't got left foots on them. Midfield three exactly the same: Matic, Herrera, and Pogba. I think that's our best bet. I don't think Fred will probably get a look in. Pereira, no chance in a game like this. And then the front three. This is where I've gone a little bit different. I think it will probably be Rashford, Lukaku, and Sanchez. That's what I think it would be. What I'd like to see, though, I don't care. I want to go with Rashford up front, Lukaku maybe on the right, and I want to see one of the youth products in there. I want to see Chong in there. It's never going to happen. It's completely unrealistic.
It would be nice. Well, he might even be on the bench. You never know, because with Lingard and Martial out, there's 2 spaces on the bench.
Exactly. And the thing with what I look at it is, you look at who we've got in terms of youth. We've got some. You look at even Durnley. We've got coming through. Does play off the wing. You got Chong. You got Gomez. Yes, he doesn't play off the wing, and I wouldn't play him off the wing. I play as a number 10, but you look at those players. It was funny. I actually replied to a tweet from the Man United Stand account today, and they were asking about Mata and about Lukaku and about Sanchez. Is the likes of Chong, even Greenwood? Yes, he's struggled physically sometimes in the under-23s, but are they really, realistically now, going to offer less than what Lukaku, Sanchez, and Mata offer us right now?
That's a good point.
That's my argument. As much as we know with Mata and Sanchez and Lukaku, I'm picking out those 3 because we know they've got quality, but they consistently underperform in every game near enough. Yes, Lukaku had a decent game against Arsenal, but after that, he's been poor again. Are they really going to offer less? They're young, they're hungry, they've got pace, they've got energy, everything that we were missing in that second half from PSG. We were missing pace, directness, and energy. And that is the big factor. So why not? Why not give them? You look at Chelsea with Hudson-Odoi. They've put faith in him, and he's, he handed in a transfer request in January because Bayern Munich wanted him. But he's been fantastic for them because they put their faith in him and they played him. We need to start giving our youngsters more minutes. You and me discussed this last week. We said that was even the title of our podcast, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Go listen to that. A bit of a plug there, but no, and as you rightly said, Lingard and Martial are out now. We don't know for how long, but it's time. Ollie's even said he wants to give more minutes to the youngsters coming through because we've got some fantastic youngsters. Well, put your money where your mouth is and give them a chance, give them responsibility in a big game. And either they're either going to flourish or they're going to not have a great game, but they'll learn from it. So chuck them in the deep end. They're good enough. They're old enough. We keep coming to that all the time. So I'd like to see some youngsters in the squad, whether it's starting or not. But yeah, that's what I think.
I think we will. I don't think there's much choice really.
Got it.
But again, it depends if Martial and Rashford are Martial and Lingard are out for that long.
Yeah. Prediction.
It's at Stamford Bridge.
Yeah.
Now,
6-0?
No, not 6-0. Not 6-0. With the likelihood of Martial and Lingard being out, and the fact that I'm just concerned about the way we defend and the threat that they pose going forward, I'm going to go with the same prediction that I went with PSG, and I think we're going to lose. I'm going to go 2-1. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hate to sound negative all the time. I'm just trying to be real.
Okay.
When I look at the difference in quality, you can say that Chelsea just lost 6-0 against Man City, lost 4-0 against Bournemouth. Yeah, but they're not going to lose every game. They're going to start winning the games again.
Yeah.
And like I said, form is only temporary. If we approach that game with that sort of mentality, the players, then we're going to get hit. And Man City put 6 past most teams.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They put 6 past. That's a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I hate to sound negative, but that's just what I think will happen. I hope I'm wrong.
I've gone slightly more positive, only very slightly, mind. I've gone for a 1-1 draw.
Well, I was thinking a 1-1 draw, but then I thought,
and then
I think we'll lose.
Get them back to Old Trafford, and then we'll turn them over at Old Trafford when Lingard and Martial are fit again. But yeah, 1-1. I think the big thing with PSG and why we struggled so much is I think we'd put so much emphasis on playing in a certain way with the main focus of that front three. I think when it all sort of crumbled away, I think if one of them would have got injured, we might have done a little bit better. We might still have had a bit of, pace and attack. We might have replaced someone and played the false 9 and played the other 2 wide. But with both of them going off, I think that was a little bit of a shock for Ollie. I don't think he knew, what he was going to do, to be honest. I don't think he'd have planned for it and he wouldn't have had a plan B. So I think going into a game fresh, having a new set of ideas, new set of tactics, Looking at the way Chelsea play as well, I think we'll be a little bit more prepared. So yeah, I'm going for a 1-1. Then we'll take them back to Old Trafford and beat them there. That's my prediction.
Cool. Yeah, well, I'd rather that than
And 2-1 loss.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's the review and the preview done.
Yep.
Let's take it over to Twitter.
Yeah, indeed. So as usual, tweet we're now recording the podcast. What would you like to discuss? Top of the shop then, Mr. Southwick.
Andrew.
He says, being realistic after a loss like this can be hard. So I ask you, fine gentlemen, thank you very much, do you think we need a complete overhaul of the squad or just improve in a couple of places and add depth to truly compete across all competitions?
Yeah, so I see what you mean there by saying being realistic after a loss like this can be hard, and then slipping in there, complete overhaul. If someone now says a complete overhaul, that could be considered being unrealistic.
Yeah.
Because of a loss like that. Again, being to PSG and not many people really expecting us to win. But I've maintained this for a good few seasons now, that we do not have the quality in depth pretty much at all.
Yeah.
And that's been proven time and time again. Yeah, you look at some of the names and you think they should be a lot better. But these names are past their best.
Yeah.
They are on the decline. So to answer your question, Andrew, I do think that maybe not of the entire squad, but there is a lot of players that need clearing out. And obviously, when you clear out players, they need to be replaced. Whether that's from our academy or, buying them in. So in essence, yes, there is an overhaul needed, although a couple of places, bring in a couple of, we'll only bring in 2 or 3 a season. We're not going to be able to overhaul the squad in one window.
And realistically,
the last few windows haven't been great. But I think if we did just manage to improve 1 or 2 spaces, that will give us much needed improvement, maybe to fight on 1 or 2 fronts, fight for the Premier League, maybe a domestic cup. But if we want to start fighting on all 4 fronts, we need to have squads like Man City, like PSG, like Madrid, like Barcelona. Do you know what I mean? The top teams in each country have got quality and depth. We don't have that. Until we've got that, that's when we can start challenging on all fronts.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, in terms of clear, I mean,
just one other thing as well. Sorry to ramble on. What would help us though is if we manage to go through a whole season without any of our front 3 getting injured.
Yeah.
If that happens, then we might stand a better chance. Look at Liverpool, for example. Beyond Salah, Mane, and Firmino, they don't have that many options.
Only Shaqiri, really. And
Sorry?
only Shaqiri, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So beyond those 3, they've not really got much attacking potency. But none of them ever seem to get injured.
That's the thing, isn't it?
You know what I mean? So, we know that Salah manages to avoid injuries by diving.
Yeah, well, it's precautionary. It's...
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, as soon as we get an injury or 2, that's it. We've got no depth. So I think, yes, in essence, we do need an overhaul. But a couple of players would give us a better chance to compete next season.
I mean, yeah, exactly. I think the times of overhauls have, I don't want to say gone, but certainly they've been pushed back, and certainly not over the course of maybe a season. It's going to take multiple windows to clear out this deadwood. And will we get rid of everyone that we need to? I mean, top of my head, there's probably 10 or 11 players that I could say we could get rid of, and they'd need to go. But that'll never happen, because obviously we'll need to bring 10 or 11 players in, which isn't going to be sanctioned.
Exactly.
But I think if we get 3 players, this is at the very least. I think if we get 3 or 4, but I think we 100% need a right back. We 100% need a new centre midfielder or central defensive midfielder. And I think a right winger as well. I think that's essential.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously centre back as well is very important. But it all depends on how much money. I mean, 4 signings would be fantastic. I think if we got 4, we got the centre back, right back, centre mid, and right winger, and I'm talking top class talent here. 50 million minimum on each player. I think I think we'd be in with a shout of competing on a few fronts. Not all, I don't think, because again, a couple of injuries and we're back to square one. But I think that's more likely. How many players we'll get might depend on how well we do coming towards the end of the season. But who knows? We all know that the Glazers aren't the biggest fans of dipping in when we want to get back to the top and really start challenging again.
Yeah.
So looking at that then, moving on, Robin Kenstam, another avid listener, he says, I feel strangely at peace with the PSG game. We know where we're at, and it feels easy to build on this if we keep Ollie. I know what you mean. And Lynn Hall then adds after that as well, which is a good point. At least it brings Woodward and the Glazers down from that cloud, believing all is well and we only need minor additions to compete with the best. Failed to invest big this summer, and it's admission they don't really give a shit about winning anything so long as the money keeps rolling in.
I like how you changed your accent when you swore. It makes the swear word not a swear word.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're not family friendly, really, are we? So it doesn't.
True.
But yeah, two good points. Going back to the strangely at peace one with PSG, I actually read somewhere today, which is a really interesting point. When the draw was made and we found out that we were going to be playing PSG, a couple of months back, how did we all feel, going into that?
Yeah, we're going out.
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at after last night, going into that game last night, we were, I know most of us were buzzing, we were bouncing, and we were confident going into that game. When was the last time that, yes, okay, maybe it was a little bit, maybe a little bit of an oversight on a lot of our behalves, including myself. But when was the last time you went into a massive game like that with that much confidence?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Do you know what I mean? So as much as I'm really on the side of I don't know about Ollie yet. I don't know if he should be our full-time manager. I think obviously we need to get to May and then assess things. But in terms of bringing that confidence back and that feel-good factor, you can't deny that he's done a fantastic job in that, because I can't remember the last time we faced, we had a game the magnitude of last night and we went into it with confidence. And most games I go into it with confidence now, thinking that, we could get a result here. Compared to 3 months ago, when we were going into every game thinking, are we going to draw this game or are we going to lose it? And it was one of those. So, I mean, that was an interesting perspective that I read today, which I thought was a good point.
Absolutely. No, I'd agree.
So yeah, sorry. Going back to Robin and Lynn, any thoughts on that? I mean, Lynn's spot on, I think, with the Glazer and the Woodward thought.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, with Robin's comment about being strangely at peace with PSG game, like I said earlier on, I didn't expect us to win the game. I was obviously gutted with it, but I wasn't too, I mean, also like I said as well, it's not like we rolled over for them.
No.
You know what I mean? We gave it a go. We played our game. We didn't seem nervous or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, I've forgotten about it now. It's in the past. We'll get over it. We'll go to PSG. Probably get beat 3 or 4-0.
Yeah.
And then just get it over and done with. I just wish that. Well, Lynn says at least it brings Woodward and the Glazers down from that cloud. I don't think it will. They've been at the club long enough now. We've had Deadwood long enough now. I don't think they're going to change anything. I think as long as they're in charge, and I've said this a few times, as long as they're in charge, this is how the club's going to be run.
Yeah,
they won't change. They haven't changed in best part of 15 years. They're not going to start changing now. We haven't won a league since Fergie. They haven't changed in all that time. They're not going to change now.
No.
Many times our depth of quality has been exposed, not just against PSG, but nothing's been done. Look at last year against Sevilla, the year before, whenever it was. Do you know what I mean? There's been plenty of times when our lack of quality has been exposed. Nothing's really changed on the Glazer front. So I don't think anything will change now.
And they only really sort of spend big to get back into the Champions League, isn't it? Because that's where a lot of the money is as well. You see that before when we've been out of the Champions League, they spent big back into the Champions League. And then you look at last summer, we know we're safe, we're back in the Champions League, and then we spend, who do we buy? 19-year-old right back, a £50 million bench warmer, and Lee Grant. Which is a bit of a weird one. Moving on then, United be right. How would an injury to Martial and Lingard impact our season? Do you think Lukaku, Sanchez, and Mata could still help us stay in the top 4? Good question.
Nope. Well, we're going to find out now, aren't we? How it's going to impact our season. I think other teams watching the PSG game, as soon as those players were off injured, the threat or most of the threat was removed in an attacking sense from Man United. And I've always said it as well. I'm not sure if I've said it in the podcast, but I know I've said it on Twitter a few times that if you want to stop Man United, there's just two things you got to do. One, isolate Pogba, which PSG done very well.
Yeah.
Number two, press high against our backline.
Yeah.
Because you do that, they'll get nervous, and they do time and time again. That's the only two things you got to do to stop us. So I think without that attacking threat, we're going to be extremely vulnerable. I don't think Lukaku, Sanchez, and Mata can, help us stay in the top four. They're going to be effective in some games, but not all games. In fact, I would say probably the majority of games they won't be effective in. It depends, really. It really depends, but I don't think that there will be enough to help us stay in the top four. I'm going on the fact that when you say how would an injury to Martial and Lingard impact our season, I'm guessing you mean a long-term injury, something that's going to keep them out for almost the rest of the season because there isn't much left. But no, if they had big injuries that kept them out for weeks and weeks and weeks, I don't think the other players would be enough to help us stay in the top four because Martial and Lingard have been huge, parts of our resurgence.
Yeah. I mean, could they help fight to keep us in the top four? In current form, I don't think they could fight their way out of a wet paper bag. They've been absolutely awful. I've got no words really for Alexis Sanchez, to be honest. I know he's had a lot of stick, over the last sort of, a couple of months really. Well, the past a year and a half, is it, I suppose? No, is it a year he's been here? Maybe just over a year. But yeah, the past couple of weeks, you come on, onto a game against PSG like that, the onus is on you to create something. We know the quality's there. And to be honest, you could have picked anyone out of that crowd and they would have been just as effective as Sanchez, which is really concerning.
Yeah.
I don't think Mata... we all know Mata's best as a number 10, but we don't play with a number 10 in this system. So again, that really negates him because he can't play off the wing. He cuts inside too much. And Lukaku... he has his uses, but he's just not consistent enough, and he's far too lazy. So will they, if we're dependent on them to keep us in the top four, with other teams around them, with other players coming back into fitness and whatnot, and their form improving? No, I can't see it, to be honest. Let's just hope Lingard and Martial's injuries are not too serious, and if they are, I hope we see some youth as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just for the sake of the youth, but the sake of Sanchez and Mata and Lukaku and all these other players. Because at the moment, if Lingard and Martial are injured, who have they got to compete with? No one. They're not going to be asked. So
and that's one of the things I said last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Something that I had read somewhere where when Ollie picks his best 11, that's it. Remember, I said it was a Samuel Luckhurst article that we discussed last week, and he said that it's what one of the biggest problems that Ollie has now is that it's very easy for him to pick his best 11 because beyond that, no one's really challenging.
Yeah, it is. Very interesting. Last one on this one then, Josh Shaw. Since losing to a weakened PSG side, what must we do to bounce back and get ready for Chelsea? Who must start? Who must be benched? Wasn't super impressed with Bailly last night. Maybe Smalling gets the nod. Well, just rewind back to our Chelsea preview and that'll give you everything you want to know.
Absolutely.
And you did put out another tweet, didn't you?
I did,
just before. Yeah. Okay, top of the shop then, Mr. Forehead himself, Mr. Matthew McFadden. Sorry, Matthew, love you. He says, does Young deserve a pay rise for smashing the snake into the advertising boards or a pay cut for such a horrendous performance? Also, PSG showed last night how important a good back four is. Anytime he went into their third, they allowed nothing to happen. Defenders needed.
And if you want some info on Matthew McFadden, he's 6'5" and built like a toothbrush.
That was one of my better quotes that I gave.
Yes, Young does deserve a pay rise for the advertising board incident. Although I think it was more of a metal railing. I think
it was.
Advertising.
It's a lot worse. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, PSG did show us how good and important back four is. They also showed us how important it is to spend money and have a squad beaming with quality in depth. That's exactly what happens when you invest. You know, you win big Champions League games like that.
Yep, I agree. Gregory Manred, should the number 7 shirt be retired? The curse of the Michael Owen still hovers strong on that shirt number. How shit is Sanchez and a one-trick pony on the left? I don't even think he's got one trick left at the moment. But why is he persistently played on the left?
I don't think we should retire the number
No.
7. We're going to get somebody in that shirt at some point. You never know. It could be a Chong shirt. It could be a Rashford. Rashford would keep the number 10 now, I'd imagine, and I expect Martial probably keep the number 11. But no, I don't think we should retire it at all. It does seem to be a cursed number at the moment now. I do agree with you on that. And I'm also surprised just at how poor Sanchez has been for United, especially how long he's been here now. He's had plenty of opportunities to impress. But I just don't know. And that's a very good question. Why is he persistently played on the left when we know that he can be effective, just as effective or ineffective as the case may be at the moment on the right hand side?
Yeah.
It is bizarre that he's never playing on the right hand side. I really don't understand that. I really don't.
Yeah.
The other players that play in our front three are all very interchangeable. You know, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we've seen Martial and Lingard switch sides, not for a whole game. You won't see Martial play a whole game on the right hand side, but now and again you'll see them switch in the game, even if only for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
it makes it up a little bit. You know, give the other team something to think about. You never see that with Sanchez. You never see him, playing on the right.
Yeah, it is frustrating. Just no one's given him a chance there really since he's been at the club. No one's really played him on the right. I think, or maybe he's had one game on the right, didn't play very well, and then he's not been played there again. Which is, as you said, he had some of his best years in his career at Barcelona playing off the right. So it is odd. I don't think we need to retire the number 7 shirt. I think that's a little bit extreme. But the only
thing I can think of is, if I was a manager, I'm not, obviously, but if I was, and it's the same with being a manager in most places, you want to get the best out of your players. So you would sit down with them and ask them where they think or where they play their best football, where they feel the most comfortable. And you probably get the likes of Rashford and Martial would probably say, well, up front, anywhere in that front line. And I could just imagine that Sanchez says on the left only.
Yeah.
That's the only place I like to play. That's the only thing I can think of, is that when he's asked, that's what he states.
You don't ask him, you tell him.
That,
you're at right back today, and you will do a job.
Yeah, that's a very good point. If you're playing for a team, you've got to do what's asked of you. But at the same time, as a manager, if you do that, you probably aren't going to get the best out of him.
Yeah.
If he's already, if he's already made it quite clear, he doesn't like playing out there.
Yeah.
That probably isn't true, but that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. It's a mystery, to be honest. The Alexis Sanchez. I'm still thinking he's a clone or something, and the real one's gone to retire somewhere. I don't know. This next one actually made me laugh out loud before when I read it, because I was just scrolling through, looking for serious comments, and then I come across, should we give Sanchez a contract extension, committing him to United until his mid-40s? I did giggle at that one. Isaac Opayemi, best full-back options for the future. Stick your hand in a hat, really. It's
if you're talking about the players that we've got at the club currently, then you're going to have to say Luke Shaw and Diogo Dalot.
Yeah.
If you're talking about players we've got at the club now, if you're talking about any options anywhere in the world, that's going to be quite impossible to say, really.
Yeah. I
don't have my own scouting network. Fullbacks all over Europe and the world, so I couldn't answer that. But if you're talking about players that we currently have, then for the future, you've got to look at Diogo Dalot for right back and Luke Shaw for left back.
Yeah, that looks to be the way we're going forward. Both, still young, both still learning their trade. Again, we're going to need, strength in depth. You look around different leagues and stuff. Was it you mentioned Pereira when we were previewing Leicester?
Yes.
He's done well for Leicester at the moment. I mean, but again, what is he, 26, 27? I'm not sure. You know, a lot has been talked about of, is it Vrsaljko? Is he still at Real Madrid? I don't know. A lot was spoken about him. I think Sidibe as well. Is he still playing at Monaco? Again, I'm just reading off names that I know that were, I don't know if they might still be at their clubs. But when I did look into sort of fullback positions, but again, we've not been linked to anyone at the moment. We seem to have settled on Luke Shaw as our left back option. We went out. One of the only signings we made in the summer was a young, promising right back. So it's frustrating because Dalot really hasn't had the minutes or shown the potential, what he can do thus far, and we still keep playing the likes of Antonio Valencia and Ashley Young at right back, which isn't doing anyone any favours, in my opinion. So honestly, again, stick your hand in the hat. Really don't know. United be right again. Would love to hear your opinion about our youth academy and the direction it's headed. It really still is as good as everyone says, considering most of the famous names, Chong and Gomez, still play under 23 football, whilst Jadon Sancho is making a name for himself at Dortmund. You want to go or you want me to go?
Do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. I was reading something about, you mentioned Jadon Sancho and the reason that he left Man City. And it was pretty simple. What he said is, he wanted to play football. He wanted to get games. He wanted to get minutes on the pitch. And he said Dortmund are one of the best in the world at doing that with youngsters. I mean, you look at Pulisic, coming through. He's had a fantastic sort of last 12 months, hence why he's signed for Chelsea now. Jadon Sancho coming through again, unbelievable talent, one of England's hottest prospects at the moment. And will have, an elite club come and snap him up? I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting one with our youth system at the moment because you look at the big names in the youth squad then, and a lot of them are sort of bouncing around the under 23s. You look at Mason Greenwood. What's still only, is he 18 yet or is he still 17?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Doing the under 18s, jumping up to the under 23s from time to time, bouncing about. Gomez, something similar as well. That you've got to look at it and say, when is their time? Yes, I know they're young, and yes, they're still learning their trade. They've still got to be patient. But when you look at someone like Jadon Sancho, who's made the impact that he has, even Pulisic, yes, he's American, but still had that chance. It can happen. You only have to look as far as Marcus Rashford. We were forced into playing him due to injuries, and just giving a little bit of faith in him. And look what he's repaid. He's arguably one of our most important players at the moment, and provides us with something that not a lot of players, can do. So we've, in my opinion, we've got as good as our youth setup is. I think we've got to be making that progression, because essentially a youth setup is to promote players from within. And bring them through. And at the moment, obviously under Mourinho, it was a massive sticking point for a lot of fans. We're not doing enough of bringing these youngsters through and feeding them into the first team. Even if it's on the bench, even if it's a few minutes here and there. I mean, Fulham was a massive point. I know you were quite annoyed with it, Paul, as was I. It was a game before a big European Cup tie. We needed to rest players. We did so, but there was no youth involved. So it begs the question, if you want to improve your youth setup, you promote, because what that does then is gives a lot more confidence to those younger youth players coming through and going, well, look, I've applied my trade here, I've worked hard, and then I've got my reward from moving up to the first team and getting some games there. And at the moment, we're not doing that enough, in my opinion. I think we need to put more trust. And again, it gives more competition for the first team players who are consistently underperforming, in my opinion. So yeah, we've got some unreal talent, but we need to show it. We need to be putting them forward, I think.
No, I'd absolutely agree with that. In terms of the youth academy and the direction it's headed, I think it's great. It was revamped not so long ago, and that we've got a good scouting network out there looking for young talent, and we do hear about it quite often that United have signed a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old, and we are looking for Europe's best young talent and bringing them to Old Trafford, shall I say. So I think the direction it's going is good. I mean, look at the names that are coming through: Chong, Gomez, Greenwood. I mean, obviously not all of them have been brought in. Chong is one of them. He's a great example of what the Youth Scouting Network has done. I think it was the same with Timothy Fosu-Mensah as well. He was brought in from Dutch team. I can't remember who it was. I think.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, but he was
It was a Dutch team.
Into our youth team, impressed. Came into the first team, impressed us in the first team as well. Has gone out on loan, sort of disappeared off the radar a little bit.
So Fulham now, I think.
Yeah, I think he's been playing out of position all the time. Keeps getting played at right back, which always confused me. Because he was always much better in a midfield role, like a defensive midfield role. But yeah, I think the direction that it's going in is good. The onus now is just on the first team manager to give more opportunities to those that are knocking on the door, like your Chongs, Gomez's, and Greenwoods.
Yeah.
So yeah, academy, I like the direction it's going in. It's just the onus now is on the first team to give them those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, you said spot on with, we're always scouring the planet for the best young talent, but essentially Manchester United is about the first, as much as we promote and we develop young talent, and we have developed some fantastic ones, the end goal is to get them into that first team and turn them into elite footballers at the end of the day, and we're not doing enough of it. Yes, I know football is a ruthless business now, and results, determine whether you're successful or not, or whether you keep a job or not a lot of the time. But we still, especially with Mourinho, not so much, because we knew what his ethos was. But with Ole, he's come in and he's openly said that we need to give more youth players, and that's what Manchester United is all about. So he needs to start showing it. I'm not saying every week, week in, week out, but he certainly needs to be including them on the bench in matchday squads, and getting some minutes here and there.
And one thing I will say as well, and I've always been consistent about this, is that just because we need to put more onus on the youth players, or the onus needs to be on the first team manager to bring them through and promote them, it doesn't mean to say that every single season we should be promoting 3 or 4 players from the academy.
Exactly.
That's not how it works. It's never worked like that.
No.
I think only once or maybe twice in the whole history has a batch of players come through at one time.
Yeah.
The class of '92 being one example. It might only be one a season. There might be 1 or 2 seasons where some of them just aren't good enough.
Yeah,
and that's going to happen. So yeah, we need to be smart about it at the same time. But when you've got, in a time like this now, when you've got players like Chong and Gomez and Greenwood, who are really talented players, performing superbly at the level they're playing at the moment, they deserve. Those 3 or 4 players do actually deserve. This is a time now where we actually do have a small batch of players that could potentially end up being very good for us.
Yeah.
And so yeah, now would be an ideal time to start giving one or 2 of those more opportunities, like we said. And Fulham would have been a perfect game to do it, but it just hasn't happened. I'm just hoping that Ollie isn't going to be a yes man for the Glazers.
Yeah.
Or a yes man for the fans, saying, yeah, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do, and then not doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people are saying about Gomez. I made the point today that I think Chong is more apparent really for us at the moment. Just, for our injury problems, if Lingard and Martial are out for a bit, and just to give us a little bit more option on that right-hand side, which he's got nothing of.
Yeah.
We know he's got the talent. He bagged a brace against PSG in the UEFA Youth League. Was it last week before last? Showed his quality. Was fantastic most of the game. So, again, trust and give him some minutes. It needs to happen. So yeah, Ollie, put your money where your mouth is. Let's go. Get some youth
Absolutely.
in there. And then the final one was just Alex Robbins, Youngie smashing Di Maria into in the stands. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Let's wrap it up. So, Ash, want to give out your Twitter details?
Yeah, at Ashbio, ASHBOIO.
And you can follow myself as well, at Paul Gardiner MU. Also follow the podcast account at United Stand Pod, and also the United Stand main account at United Stand MUFC. And if you are watching on YouTube, even if you're not watching on YouTube, listening on YouTube, even if you're not listening on YouTube, go on to YouTube. There's how many times I can say YouTube before they stop that end. And subscribe to not only us, but also Red, Man United fan, Andrew Southwick. Got his own channel now. Very good show, live shows that he does. very consistent with his opinions, gets everybody involved in the live comments as well. And also Van Cam, which I do mention every week on YouTube as well. That's absolutely brilliant to watch. So yeah, thank you all for listening. And Ash, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
And yeah, make sure you like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Drop some comments as well. We like the feedback. And yeah, we'll be back next week. Thank you very much.